After the voice pretending to be my grandmother came to our apartment, my dad started checking the locks every 10 minutes instead of every 15. Nobody talked about it directly. That was another thing people in Bellmoor did. The scarier something became, the less anybody wanted to say it out loud. But I noticed. Children always notice things adults think they're hiding. Especially fear. Fear changes people slowly. At first, it's little things. You double-check windows. You keep televisions louder at night. You stop standing near open curtains. Then, eventually, you stop acting like yourself completely. That was happening to everyone in Bellmoor. At school, teachers watched the clocks more than the students. Parents waited in pickup lines almost an hour early just to make sure they were home before sunset. Even the grocery stores started closing earlier every month. By the time winter came, most places in Bellmoor shut down completely before dark. The streets looked abandoned by 7 o'clock, like the town itself was hiding. And every night, right before sunset, the clicking started. Not loud. Never loud. That's what made it worse. The clicking always sounded close enough to hear, but far enough away that you could pretend it wasn't real if you wanted to. Sometimes it sounded like fingernails tapping softly against metal railings outside our apartment complex. Sometimes it sounded like somebody clicking their tongue quietly in the hallway outside. And sometimes it sounded like it was coming from directly outside my bedroom window. My little sister Lily hated the clicking, but my older sister Ava hated the silence afterward even more. She told me once that the clicking only stopped when they were watching something. I asked her what they meant. She didn't answer. Ava had started doing that a lot lately, stopping conversations halfway through. Like she knew things she didn't want me hearing yet. Or maybe things she was afraid to say out loud. A week after the thing pretending to be my grandmother came to apartment 614, something happened at school. Something nobody talked about directly afterward. But everybody knew. Even kids, especially kids. It started during recess. There was this kid named Ethan who lived 3 floors below us in the apartment complex. He was 13. Quiet, always wore headphones around his neck, even though the school banned them. He told people his older brother disappeared during the watching hour 2 years earlier. Most kids stopped asking questions after that. People in Bellmoor learned early that families with missing relatives didn't like talking about nighttime. Anyway, Ethan got into a fight during recess. Not a normal fight, more like a panic attack. One second he was standing near the basketball courts talking to another kid, and the next he started screaming. Not angry screaming, terrified screaming. Teachers rushed over immediately. I remember standing near the fence watching while Ethan kept pointing toward the woods behind the school playground. The tree line. That's where he kept pointing. And he wouldn't stop saying the same thing over and over again. It was standing there yesterday. It was standing there yesterday. Teachers eventually pulled him inside the building. Nobody explained anything afterward. But during math class, I heard Mrs. Hargrove crying quietly at her desk while she thought students were working. That scared me more than Ethan's screaming did. Adults crying in Bellmoor always meant something bad was real. When Ava picked me up after school that afternoon, she already knew about it somehow. Mom says you're not allowed near the woods anymore. I frowned. I was never allowed near the woods. I mean, even during daytime. That made me look at her differently. Why? Ava hesitated. Then she shrugged. Because. I hated when she did that. Everybody in Bellmoor answered questions with because. Or maybe. Or I don't know. Nobody ever actually explained anything. The sky looked darker than usual on the walk home. Heavy gray clouds covered Bellmoor completely. The kind that made sunset come earlier. People hated cloudy days in Bellmoor because darkness arrived faster. The sidewalks were crowded with people hurrying home, carrying grocery bags and backpacks. Nobody walked slowly anymore. Nobody lingered outside talking. And nobody looked at strangers for very long. That part always stood out to me. Adults avoided eye contact constantly, like they were afraid somebody might recognize them. When we got home, my dad was already pulling blankets over the windows. Not curtains, blankets, thick, dark ones. That immediately made my stomach tighten. "Why are you doing that?" My dad glanced toward the balcony door before answering. "Storm's getting worse." That wasn't the reason. I could tell. Even Ava looked nervous now. Lily sat on the living room floor, holding one of her stuffed animals while cartoons played quietly on television. But she wasn't watching them. She kept staring toward the apartment hallway instead, like she was listening for something. My mom noticed too. "What's wrong, baby?" Lily hesitated, then quietly said, "I heard somebody outside my window last night." The apartment became silent instantly. Even the television suddenly felt too loud. My dad turned it down. "What did you hear?" Lily shrugged nervously. "Somebody whispering." My mom knelt beside her. "What did they say?" Lily looked toward the hallway again before answering. "They said they liked my drawings." Nobody spoke for several seconds after that, because Lily's bedroom window faced the side alley beside the apartment complex. There was nowhere someone could stand outside it, not without climbing the fire escape. My dad checked the locks again after that conversation. Twice. By sunset, the rain outside had become violent. Water hammered against the apartment window so hard it sounded like handfuls of rocks hitting the glass. The emergency broadcast repeated every 15 minutes now. Residents are advised to remain indoors for the duration of the watching hour. Keep all curtains sealed after dark. Do not engage with voices outside your residence. Then the broadcasts added something new, something I had never heard before. If an individual outside appears distressed or injured, static crackled briefly. Do not approach. That sentence made my mom look physically sick. I noticed because adults in Bellmoor usually tried very hard not to react in front of children. But this time she did. That scared me immediately. "What does that mean?" I asked. My dad answered too fast. "It means stay inside." But why would someone be injured outside? Again, silence. Always silence. Then Ava quietly said, "Because people panic." The lights flickered once overhead, then twice, then steadied again. Outside, Bellmoor disappeared beneath darkness. Streetlights buzzed alive through the rain below our apartment building. Yellow reflections stretched across wet pavement like smears of light. And then, the clicking started, closer than usual. Click, click, click. Lily buried her face into my mom's shoulder instantly. Nobody told her to. Children in Bellmoor learned fear naturally. The clicking moved slowly around the apartment building outside. Patient, measured, like footsteps almost. Then suddenly, the apartment across the parking lot lit up. A single lamp near the kitchen. I recognized the apartment immediately. Ethan's, the boy from school. I could see him standing near the window through the rain. He looked terrified, even from across the parking lot. He kept pulling the curtains aside to look outside before closing them again. Then he disappeared from the window completely. My dad noticed me staring. "Stop looking outside." "But now." I stepped away from the curtains immediately. The emergency broadcast crackled louder. Static swallowed half the woman's voice. Then, screaming exploded from outside. Real screaming, not distant, not muffled. Close. Lily started crying immediately. The scream came from the apartment building across from ours. Ethan's building. Everybody in our apartment froze. Another scream echoed through the parking lot, then pounding, like somebody slamming against a window repeatedly. I moved toward the curtains before my dad grabbed my shoulder hard enough to hurt. "Noah." His voice sounded different, actually afraid. "Do not look outside." Then the screaming stopped completely, just like that. Silence swallowed the entire apartment complex afterward. No footsteps, no voices, nothing, only rain. And then, click. Right outside our apartment door. Slowly, softly. Somebody knocked 3 times. Nobody moved. Then a boy's voice whispered through the hallway. "Help me." My blood went cold instantly because I recognized the voice. Ethan. He sounded terrified. "Please." Another soft knock. "My mom won't open the door." I looked toward my parents. My mom looked horrified. My dad slowly shook his head before anybody could speak. The voice outside became shakier. "I know somebody's in there." Then silence. Then softly, "Noah?" Every hair on my arms stood up immediately. I had never spoken to Ethan outside school, never told him my apartment number, never invited him over. But somehow, the thing outside knew my name. Lily started crying harder. My dad whispered, "Don't answer it." The voice outside changed slightly then. Not enough to sound fake. Just wrong somehow. Like the emotions stopped matching the words. "Please let me inside." Pause. Then suddenly, laughing, quiet, short, completely emotionless. Then the voice corrected itself and started crying again, like it realized laughing was the wrong response. My stomach dropped, because for the first time in my life, I understood exactly what Ava meant when she said, "You've never seen one up close." The thing outside wasn't Ethan anymore, but it was trying very, very hard to be.